Hello and welcome back to our video series on XYZ Mesh. I'm Kyle, the creator of XYZ Mesh, and today I'll be showing you the settings inside of the graphing window. If you'd like to follow along with this video, you can obtain your own copy of XYZ Mesh in the description down below. Every new installation comes with a 5-day full functional evaluation, so you can determine if the product is right for you. Now that the introduction is out of the way, let's get started with this tutorial. XYZ Mesh is a software used to create three-dimensional surface plots from XYZ data. These created plots can then be exported into Microsoft Excel graphs, DXF drawings, CSV data tables, text, and even integrated models. The best part of XYZ Mesh is the ability to share those exported plots with anyone without any extra software required. For this video, we're going to be picking up from where we last left off. If you missed our previous video, we converted data and now we have it plotting. For the purpose of this video, I'm going to be assuming that you are caught up with this video series and you are following along with the point that we are currently at. The visible plot is simple to operate. Intuitive mouse controls allow you to drag and drop and rotate the graph in three-dimensional space. The rotation commands can be controlled with either the left or right mouse click. Use the mouse wheel to zoom in and out. To pan, hold down on the left and right click buttons to drag the graph to the direction you would like to pan. XYZ Mesh allows for splicing data at any of the three axes. This option is available in all conversions for the Z axis, but only mesh conversions can splice in the X and Y. To perform a splice, adjust the sliders under the graph. This will visually remove data at a spliced location. This is only visual and no data is actually removed. As a side note, some export formats do allow for splicing, while others do not. This is something that we will cover in a later video, but it is something to keep in mind. XYZ Mesh is pretty good at guessing how to properly scale Z data to accurately represent plotted information. However, sometimes the data might not be scaled just right. To adjust the scale of the data manually, deselect Auto Scale and the slider above the setting will become enabled. From here, adjust the scales as needed to more accurately represent the data you are plotting. While this will not affect Excel exports, as Excel will override all scaling factors anyway, it will affect the 3D rendering and model creation if you choose to export into that format. An origin is a center point in which the plot is rotated and zoomed into. If you'd like to lock the origin in place so that it is always centered, enable the Link Origin option. Now, no matter how much you rotate or pan, the graph will stay centered. New to version 10 is the ability to show the minimum and maximum values being plotted on the graph itself. When turned on, labels will appear in the areas around the plot to better visualize what the minimum and maximum values are. While plotting lines, grids, or points, the size of the data points can be adjusted by selecting the size in the drop-down menu under the plot. The color option is used for adjusting the main color of the plot. By default, this setting does nothing as the more colorful percentage-based value coloring is enabled. This is an option we will cover in more detail later, but this can be turned off in the menu settings for the graph. Display, color effects, lighting, and shading. Toggling this on, you can now change the main color of the plot with the color drop-down selector. This option allows you to change the default color of the original path. The original path option is one that we covered in the previous video, which will overlay the original input data over top of your mesh conversion. This option will also change the color of the points selected from the select points options, something we'll cover in another video. The border color is an option from the main menu. This will bring up a border around your data so you can easily see if all the data points are visible within a viewable area. The border can be turned on in Display, Visual Effects, and Border Box. When enabled, you can adjust the color of the bordering box with this drop-down selection. As I've mentioned to you before, we pride ourselves in making things as easy as possible. Part of that comes from having options easily accessible, just like the buttons at the bottom of the graphing window. I will be covering these rather quickly as most are pretty straightforward and we have covered them once before in another video. Copy All allows you to copy all the data in the converted grid. Copy to XYZ will copy the converted data grid into an XYZ format instead of a mesh format. Add in steps will add in X and Y values in specific locations, basically like a theoretical points calculation, but after the conversion is completed. Clear will clear out all data in the converted grid. And finally, Optimize for Excel will reduce the amount of points in a mesh format to comply with Excel limitations. You can also run this function to reduce the plot down to a specific number of points if needed. Now, obviously, this wasn't all the features inside the graphing window. For instance, changing the graph plot types and information window, as well as custom colors, but all of that will be covered in another video. In our next video, I'll be covering with you the export functions inside of XYZ Mesh. We'll look at CSVs, clipboard, DXF, and Excel formatted 3D graphs. If you'd like to try XYZ Mesh out for yourself, the link for the full evaluation is in the description down below. If you'd like to stay up to date with these videos and the rest of our content, please subscribe to the channel. And until next time, have a great rest of your day.